This week, all right, what has come up for you in your readings or in the study questions? I want to give a little time for that every week. Yes, Tony.
The woman that ride the beast on the city of Seven Hills.
Yes, the whore of Babylon in Revelation 17. Who is she?
Yeah, who is she? And then what is the city of Seven Hills?
Okay. Well, let's turn to Revelation 17 so that we can get a little bit about that. I'm going to give a quick answer to that because when we get to Revelation 17, we'll be spending more time with it. This is one of the most famous, or one of the infamous symbols in the book of Revelation. The harlot of Babylon, or otherwise called the whore of Babylon. Who is it? Certain Protestant denominations will say it's the Catholic Church. Martin Luther believed that. He believed it was the Pope. Okay. Other people will say it's Rome, just Rome in general, ancient Rome. But I'm going to circle into some ideas here. The whore of Babylon is really part 1, part 2. Part 1 is her description. If you look on your outline, chapter 17 describes her. Chapter 18 describes her downfall, or the judgment that falls on her. This is a symbolic image, so you can't take it literally. He's seeing this, it's symbolic of something. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Verse 1, Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came to me and said, Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot, who is seated upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and with the wine of whose fornication the dwellers on earth have become drunk. And he carried me away into the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was clothed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the impurities of her fornications. And on her forehead was written a name of mystery: Babylon the Great, mother of harlots, and of the earth's abominations. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I marveled. But the angel said to me, Why marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast, which has 7 heads and 10 horns and carries her. The beast you saw was, is not, and is to ascend from the bottomless pit, to go to perdition, and the dwellers on earth whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world will marvel and behold the beast, because it was, is not, and is to come. Note that kind of reference, because that's the opposite reference that the cherubim sing in heaven. God who was, who is, and who is to come. The beast was not, is not, and is to come. So this calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman is seated. They are also 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. One is, one has not yet come. And I'm going to stop right there because I'm running out of time. I could go on and on. Who is this woman? Who is this beast? The beast that is here is a repeat of the beast in chapter 13. Okay. Who is the beast in chapter 13? Short answer, the Antichrist. And the Gentile kingdoms from which he comes from that persecute the people of God. That's a short answer to that. Then who's the harlot that rides the beast? Good question. I'm going to give you a short answer and I will develop it later. I believe it's Jerusalem. Why? Because though you could argue it's pagan Rome, I don't think you have a dual symbolism here. I think the beast is Rome. I think it's the political power behind the harlot. The harlot, on the other hand, why she is called Babylon, why is she called a harlot, and why is she decked out the way she is to contrast with the bride of the Lamb, which is in the next chapter, chapter 19. The bride of the Lamb is dressed in white linen and fine beads. Okay? The harlot, on the other hand, is dressed in gold and jewels and scarlet and gold. Okay? So she is completely the opposite of the bride, who is considered pure and virginal. She sleeps with all of the kings of the earth. That's why she's considered a harlot. So she is, if you will, in bed with the political rulers that are connected with everything that is not God. Whereas the bride is connected to the real power behind earthly power, which is who? The Lamb, right. One of the things that we're going to see as we start from chapter 1 and go across is that heaven controls the affairs of the earth. And what happens in heaven affects things here on earth. That's one of the things that's very clear in here. Whatever happens in heaven is affected here on earth. And what happens in heaven primarily is worship. So I would argue, when the people of God truly worship God in spirit and in truth, we affect this world more than we think. The more worshipers there are of God, true worshipers of God in spirit and in truth, the more this world will be affected by what happens in heaven. Because God hears the prayers of the martyrs in heaven. He hears the prayers of the people on earth that are being persecuted under the beast. He hears the prayers of all that's going on here, and he responds. So don't be deceived. Don't think that your prayers, your worship, your adoration is for nothing. It's all being stored up. It's all going into the bank of heaven, if you will, and it will come back onto the earth. I guarantee it.
Is the universe true then?
What?
That if it's banked and we deplete everything and we're back like Corinth, or we're back like Sodom and Gomorrah?
No, it doesn't quite work that way. God is looking for true worshipers, and those who worship him in spirit and in truth affect everything in heaven and on earth. That's the secret of the book of Revelation. That's the secret to the liturgical imagery that's all throughout here. The harlot represents the opposite of that, insofar as that she thinks that she's getting away with everything by being in bed with the political powers here on earth. She thinks that by doing everything, if you will, sleeping with the right people, she will affect things here on earth. And the answer is, it's just the opposite. That's just the opposite. Now, why do I think it's Jerusalem? Because this is what Jerusalem was doing at this time. From the time of Herod the Great until its destruction in 70 AD, Rome had been in an unholy alliance with Israel. And in chapter 18, we hear about all the wealth that the city will lose when judgment falls on the harlot city. And I would say that that's exactly what happened to Jerusalem. And these two chapters, by the way, is what give a lot of preterists their fuel to believe that this was written before 70 AD. Because this is a prophecy of that to happen. Now, I think it can equally be a symbolism of what had happened and to learn the lesson of what happened to Jerusalem and not fall into that pattern. Okay? So that's a very short answer to a very difficult and long question. All right? We good for now?